Hello, my name's Sue Pearce. Can you hear me all right? Great, lovely, okay. Well, I wanted to introduce you this afternoon to perhaps a different tool for coaching, and particularly around coaching in a changing environment. So how many of you in your organisations are going through change at the moment? Oh, well, everybody. And I think that's the point, isn't it? That, you know, we've moved on quite a lot over the last few years, and the change seems to be continuous in organisations. And I think we tend to find that we very much get people that can get disillusioned and really disconnected from what's going on in an organisation, to the point that they think, well, I don't know what I'm doing here, I don't understand what's happening. Should I leave? Should I go somewhere else? And we often lose really good people because of that, because people say, well, you know, I can't hang around here waiting while I try and understand what's going on. And even with really good communication, connecting with an individual at where they are is often quite difficult. So I had a look at some of the theory, and I'm sure you all know there's a lot of theory around change. And we can talk about Lewin and Cotter and Johnson and various other cultural webs and all sorts of things around change. So a lot of information is out there, isn't it, around what to do and how to implement change, but it's actually really difficult to apply it at the right time and in the right way. And I thought, actually, in terms of coaching, I thought there was a bit of a gap. I thought, well, actually, I have spoken and coached a lot of people where their fundamental problem is, I don't know what's going on, and I don't know how to cope with this, and I don't know how to interact with this. And so I thought, well, let's start with, having a look at, you know, we know how people feel through change, but let's have a quick look. That often when you have rapid change in organisations, and I think a lot of us are going through rapid change in organisations, that we do get often things completely changing. So tasks change, the team changes. Someone you work with for a couple of months, 5 years is gone. The skills required suddenly change. You need to be competent in different things. You suddenly think, well, I didn't know that new bit of technology was coming in. How do I cope with that? So all these things happen, and what we find is that either we get quite excited about it, we think, oh, that sounds interesting, something perhaps new to learn, something I'm going to engage with, yes, change is important, we all know what about change, or we get the opposite and we think, well, actually, do you know, I'm not going to be very interested in this because I'm a bit frightened of it, I'm a bit scared of it, so I don't know what to do. But what tends to happen is that unless we get that really good communication, really good understanding about what's happening right now and what it means to me as an individual, I quickly become frustrated. Even if I'm excited about it, even if I'm really interested in doing it, I quickly become frustrated if I don't know what to do, I don't know how to engage, I don't know where to go. So we end up with this big void, particularly in large organisations. Who works for a large organisation? Yeah, okay, I can see you nodding. So in large organisations, it's even more difficult, isn't it, to really engage with people individually. So small organisations may be okay, but large organisations not so. And you get this big void, and nothing happens for a while. People just swan around talking in corridors and at water fountains and, yeah, do you know what's happening? Does anybody know what's happening? And nobody really does, or lots of gossip comes up, and lots of stuff that actually is nonsense starts to happen as well. This big void happens, and eventually people accept the change. They get some communication, accept the change, but at that point it's almost too late. You know, some people will say, okay, I accept it, I'm going to learn, I'll carry on, I'll stay. Some really good people by that point are going to say, well, do you know, I haven't had the information, I don't know what's going on, I've had this huge void, why should I stay? I think I might just go, leave the organisation. So we're losing a lot of good people through that process. So I thought, well, what can we do in terms of the coaching role to try and bridge that gap? Because we do coach a lot of people, either as managers in the workplace, or as professional coaches. So what do we need to do to make that happen? So I decided to think about a particular model, and I think the first and probably the most important thing for a coach in that type of situation is to get clarification on what's actually happening. So you as the coach taking on that role, thinking, okay, what's going on in this organisation? Why is it happening? What's the outcome going to look like? What are the processes that are changing? How long is it going to last for? So get the intelligence, go and find out what's happening and become the expert. Yeah? So you know what's going on. Then you can work as a coach with your individual to find out exactly what their particular personal concerns are. What's causing them the most ambiguity? And I think ambiguity is a really good word because often it is that I don't know what's going on, I don't know where it's going. And you may not have all the answers, but understanding where the big picture is and understanding the organisation does help. And the third stage is then recognising through the coaching process the emotions that go along with that, which we can all think about: fear, concern, maybe excitement, but certainly some of those emotions that go along with the change process, recognising them, bringing them to the surface through the coaching process. And then actually the role is about providing insights and challenges. So you may have that wonderful information there, the clarification. Somebody else may be seeing it completely, your coachee may be seeing it completely differently, not understanding what's actually happening. So your role here as a coach is to start providing some of that information in a coaching style, helping them clarify, helping them understand what's going on, and giving them some ownership and also some direction and around what's happening, and then starting to think about, well, what are the actions that I need to take? Okay, so that's the model in total, but what I wanted to do is take you through some bits of that and show you a little bit more. So the first stage, which I think is probably the most key thing for the coach, is to get that knowledge, to understand what's going on in an organisation. And I've put it into 5 areas. So you've got the purpose. What's the purpose? What's the big picture? What's happening in this organisation? What's the leadership role? The power. What do they want? What's their expectations right now? What's happening right now with their expectations? What are the processes that are changing? So getting down to that level, what are some of the processes that are actually changing and that are going to affect your individual coach? People, what are the restructures looking like? Who is staying, who is going? What's really happening on the ground? Is it as bad as people think? What are the options? What are the opportunities? And then looking at priorities, what's important right now? What's actually happening in that change process right now that's important? Okay, so I'm calling these the 5 Ps: the purpose, the power, priorities, processes and people. And what I'd like to do is just to spend, for you to spend about 5 minutes just thinking about your own organisation and perhaps identifying some of these things that are happening, trying to clarify your own organisation under these 5 Ps. And I'll be really interested to see what you come up with. I'm not expecting everybody to tell me everything, but I'm really interested to hear your views. So would you like to work in a pair or a group? Yes. Just join up, have a conversation with somebody else, perhaps talk about your organisation with somebody else's organisation, or if you've got come with colleagues, that's absolutely fine. So I'm just going to give you 5 minutes to have a clarification process for your organisation. Okay, how are we getting on? Have you had a chance to have a discussion?
We have.
Great, okay. I'll come back to you, just checking. Hiya, how are you doing? Have you got some ideas?
Yeah.
Okay, lovely. Okay, well let's just get a few ideas then, as we've had a discussion. So what have you identified in your organisation then, perhaps that is changing, or what's happening in your organisation at the moment?
said, it's quite hard to define because it's changing. There are the people that don't know. They know of it's a little bit of change, but nothing major. We've got a new shareholder, so we don't really know at the moment what's going to happen.
Okay.
But initially, it would be the purpose is we are a responsible lender, a finance company. That would be what we're on at the moment.
So you're a finance company.
The power could shift. There was 2 shareholders, now there's 1. We don't know what is happening really, and the priorities really, as the progressive right now, is just to adapt really.
Okay.
And that's as far as we go.
Okay, so sort of potential mergery thing
Yes,
going on,
absolutely.
and not sure, quite a lot of ambiguity, not sure what's going on, and adapt is the key word.
I would say that.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much. What about over here? Anything you'd like to add?
Links into that gent's comments there, but I guess for us it's around stability, but also about ownership of people. So I've got a job to play, I need to do my part,
Yep.
but our role is then to get them to make sure that they understand that they're part of the bigger picture as well. So, and then that links into that performance management piece.
We
Okay.
linked it to a jigsaw piece. So they
Interesting.
understand their jigsaw piece, but they understand what would happen if they went off on a tangent and changed the shape of the piece, because then it wouldn't fit into the puzzle.
Okay, so they understand their own area, how it fits in.
Yeah,
Okay, and so they can work out what they should and shouldn't be doing, basically.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's great. Well done, thank you. Anything at the back here? Process, yes.
A lot of ambiguity, repetition, carry out a particular activity.
So lots of changes in the processes and you're not really sure where it's going to go. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Anything you wanted to add?
Similar way, a lot of the change that we're trying to embed in the company that I work in is around culture. And changing
And that's
huge.
a long process.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Across the contact centre with almost 2,000 employees, it's a big thing to try and get through.
Absolutely. And I think with culture, it is also about spelling out what you mean, because you can spell it out, can't you?
Yeah.
What are the different behaviours that you need to have? What does it actually look like? What is it you shouldn't be not doing? So your jigsaw puzzle thing was very good. So yeah, absolutely. So there's some good ideas. Is anybody else I've missed? Did you want to add? No.
Just
It's the situation all organisations are in is that the changes kind of happened about 12 months ago now, but still in turmoil now.
Well, I think that's a really good example where change has happened, and at the top it's all tickety-boo, but down the bottom it's still like, hey, I don't know what's going on round here. Yeah, it takes a long time.
Engagement, lack of trust. But it's interesting to come at it from a coaching perspective, because that isn't something that I've considered before. We don't tend to use our coaches proactively. Individuals tend to submit a request into the coaching network, which is then dealt with. I wonder if we could use the coaches proactively to try and move people along a little bit.
Interesting. So you know, spell out your culture and get them to understand what they should be doing. Yeah, absolutely. Because I think one of the things that I found with this is that with change is that we make a lot of assumptions, particularly as managers. You make a lot of assumptions. You say this is going to happen. People will understand what that actually means. Well, they don't. And I think that this is really about trying to help them come to terms with what it actually means on the ground, operationally, in practice. Okay, so I think once we've got that stage, then we would move on, because we're going to say, well, the next stage is to understand, you know, where somebody is, because often people are in real discord. They don't know what's going on. They feel like their world's upside down. And often they've disconnected from the whole organisation, head in the sand moment. So it's being able to work with them as a coach, using good coaching techniques to understand what's really bugging them at this time. If you really understand what the person's real issue is, then you can start to help them, because you've got the knowledge by now. You understand, hopefully, at least it's either ambiguous or it's something you can provide some information on. Maybe neither, but at least you understand where that person is coming from. And the next stage is obviously recognising emotions. So, we have a lot of emotions around change, which I think most people are aware of. That's that excitement, maybe, fear of, new roles, fear of having to learn new skills, fear of redundancy, what job have I got, what's it going to look like? And self-esteem goes down at that point. I was doing a good job before, but now you're saying I need to do it differently. Am I good enough? Can I do it? All of those things. And then the frustration, again, the lack of clarity about what's going on if that's happening. So exploring those with your coaching. And then the next stage, which I think is the other side of understanding the clarity of the organisation, is being able to provide some insight. So if you've got an ambiguous situation, these are just examples, so you'll have your own, but if you have an ambiguous situation or understand there's no clear purpose, then people are unproductive because they can't make decisions, they don't know where they're going, they don't engage very well with what's happening because they don't know what's happening. And they feel unsafe, don't they? They feel my job's on the line, I feel unsafe, what do I do? Well, there's something about an ambiguous situation. The positives, you can influence. Yeah, you can actually help with the changes. You can actually influence and shape those changes for a department, an organisation or a culture. So there's a lot of opportunity there for people to gain really good skills and really good experience during that type of situation. So it's about thinking about it from the opposite side. What can you actually do to make a difference, to help that clarity get together? It's a great place for self-starters. It's a great place for people who can want to come in and just go, okay, let me start somewhere and see where it ends up. Those type of people it's great for. And obviously an opportunity to learn something new. The other one I've got here is different practices and processes. So if things are changing in terms of processes and practices, again, people feel that they've lost their confidence, they're reducing their competencies, they feel angry perhaps, and there's a lot of conflict going on about, well, am I going to get a job? What's that new role going to look like? I'm leaving stuff behind. But, the insight is perhaps there's an improved technology coming in that, you can learn and build skills with. Perhaps it's good for business, the whole business longer term. It means you'll be securing a job for a longer term. Perhaps you'll have a different client base you'll be working with. So these are some of the positives. It may be this flexible working brought in. If it's new technology, it might be some home working. So you've got to think, turn the problem on its head and think, what is the positives of this for the organisation and therefore for the individual you're working with. And again, through coaching, you can start to tease some of those things out, start to provide some insight for them and perhaps get them to move forward, because that's what we want with coaching, is for people to move forward to the next stage of engaging with the business again and trying to work through. So again, I just wanted to pause here for those of you that started to think about what's happening, ambiguity, changes in the organisation. What insights could you bring? What positives could you bring to your people around why that change is happening? What's it going to mean for them? Yeah, because you're going to be the advocate of making people come with you through this process. So you've got to have some answers for them. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes again to think hard. What are my positives from where you were just a minute ago? Okay, I'm going to just see where we've got to. I'm going to come over this side this time. Did you come up with any ideas?
Yeah, we felt the most important thing for us was about the honesty, being that reflective mirror, and actually having the confidence to have some of that courageousness to say, actually, this may not be the thing that you do moving forward. How does that now? So all the positive stuff, but also having the ability to kind of go, is it right for you moving forward?
Okay, so having that sort of conversation about, well, if you're finding it so difficult, is this right for you? Okay, yeah. Would there be any positives in any of these things, do you think?
I mean, for the person involved, it could be that dawning realisation, actually, I'm not happy with what I'm doing, what is my next challenge, my next adventure.
And but related to the skill set of the individual.
Yeah, okay.
Square peg round hole.
Yeah, fine. Okay, so I think the honesty, I like that, you know, don't beat about the bush, put somebody out of their misery if they're really not going to fit in. Maybe. Okay. What about over the back here?
It's a little bit different. Because we're, what I told you before, we're taking over from an international company, we've got more recognition. So what we thought is more investment, more projects, more opportunities, and that will be actually filtered throughout the hierarchy, basically. So we're actually quite excited about it overall, to be perfectly honest.
That's fantastic. And have you communicated that?
It's come from our CEO and filtered down, but everyone is very much aware of it. It's very communicated through. We know we fit in somewhere into their plan of things. We don't know quite where we're there, but we're very much getting established at the moment. So it's quite exciting to me.
And it does sound exciting, and especially if there's new projects and new investments, then hopefully, you know, it can be an interesting new changing career, couldn't it, or changing role. So that's really interesting. Thank you for that. How about down here?
I think we've definitely got an opportunity to use coaching to try and bring people through kind of the final stages of this, but we're almost at the point now where we can't get people engaged, we're trying to do it's a performance management issue.
Right. Oh, that's a shame. Yes.
We wanted to get that,
Mhm.
but using coaching in this kind of way, in this situation, it's something we could really consider. So it might be that it kind of help with not how to do it.
That would be really good, because it's really difficult when you take people down performance management, especially if they in the past have been good people.
Yes.
And partly it's because they are at that sort of hazed over stage where they just can't engage. So it's trying to bring them through, as you say, and using your knowledge, your experience to bring people through would be really good. All right, have a good think about it, and if you map your organisation where it is going and where it is, all these different points, and see where your people are, and just try and work them through some of that. You might find that some of them will stay and come through. Yeah, great stuff. Thank you very much. Okay, we're just coming up to the final point here, which is really, you know, we need to move people forward. So what can they do once we've had those sort of perhaps difficult conversations? It's about pointing people in the right direction. So it's maybe saying to them, well, you know, could you make some suggestions about some of this change? What do you think needs to happen here? How could you find out more? Are you reading up on what's going on, keeping in touch with what's happening? You know, are you attending the workshops on change? Are you going to team meetings and finding out what your manager says and what's going on? Are you questioning if you don't understand? So it's actually helping people to own it for themselves and start to take things forward for themselves as well. You know, and if they are going to be made redundant, what's the outplacement support for them? What are you going to do with them rather than just leaving them there? What support can you give them so that they don't languish in that I don't know where I am and I can't stay here role for too long? But hopefully you can turn people round, or turn most people round with those really good conversations. Okay, well, that's the role model there. Thank you very much indeed for your time this afternoon, and we do have some more information, and I am running a longer session. I'm going to run a day course on how to practice some of this and have a go at this in February next year, so maybe see some of you there. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.